Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Welcome back as we continue with more Warhammer 40K lore. We're going to be continuing on with Bricky's videos, and today we're going to be hopping into a title called Every Single Warhammer 40K Faction Explained. This is going to be part 1. So be tuned for part 2, probably coming out next week and all that good stuff. Just want to say also thank you for all those who showed up for the last video. Be sure to check out all the other videos that are on our channel. I know you guys are here primarily just for the Warhammer 40K, but I promise you it's a real good time on the other videos that we got going on. We have narrative games, we have co-op games, we got funny, scary games with the homie Jake. I just highly recommend checking out all the other videos, especially if you decide to subscribe. It's like, come on. If you're going to subscribe, I highly recommend checking out the other videos. But without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into more of Warhammer 40K.
As someone who doesn't necessarily serve the Omnissiah, but someone who can appreciate them, you will not be getting my legs today, as I will be replacing them with various things depending on which faction we are currently talking about to add a little bit more context and possible comedy to whatever the hell I am currently doing. So, hello everybody, my name is Bricky, and this is...
Shout out to Bricky, support the homeboy, you know what I'm saying?
...has been going on for quite some time. This is... I need 2 hands for this. This is every single Warhammer 40K race in kind of a nutshell, explained, a little bit of explanation, a little bit of lore, a little bit of talking about the tabletop, mostly lore, what they're all about, and also a little bit of background for those of you who just have no clue what Warhammer 40,000 is.
Sounds like he's talking to exactly me, so that's good news. It's great to hear.
Now you see, Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000 is a universe people hear plenty of, but don't know a whole lot about. They see, oh, there's these dudes in big power armor with chainsaw swords, and they got these big old green orcs, and there's some bugs over there, and everyone calls these guys weebs, and then there's these spiky bitches over here, and I don't get it. I don't understand. Where do I start? Well, this video is particularly for you, or for those of you who have a little bit of knowledge, but you're kind of curious about each of the different races and factions in Warhammer. So overall, the Warhammer universe is vast when it comes to lore and background, and each different faction is so different with the things that they believe in, and some are human, some are transhuman, like where they all have all these crazy ass electronics on them. You've got aliens and you've got the chaos factions, and there's so much to entail that I decided to embark on this project to tell you what each and every single one of them is about and what the Warhammer universe is about as well, to give at least a little bit of an intro to this extremely bloated but very, very enjoyable world that I and many others partake in.
Well, that's exciting because that's the whole reason why I love sci-fi. That's the whole reason why I even love fantasy. You know, it's all about the world building. It's all about the unfamiliar slowly beginning to make sense and become familiar. That's why I'm here. So, Bricky, I'm very excited. Let's get into it.
So, I will be explaining every single faction in the Warhammer 40K universe, at least all the factions you can play as, and some smaller factions here and there. I will not be discussing absolutely everything in it because that is a little bit much, and I'm not going to go too mega deep into the lore. I'm going to give you a pretty solid overview of each of the different factions and have you learn a little bit about them, and we'll discuss a little bit of the tabletop as well in case you were curious about that.
That's good. I was actually going to ask the question because I read a comment saying that this was a tabletop game first. For me, I thought it was like a novel at first. I thought it was like a sci-fi novel that was adapted into tabletop that was later then adapted into video game and, you know, to other forms of media. But yeah, it's awesome that it's a tabletop. Tabletop games go hard, man. Like, I wish I could get more into them, maybe later on in my life. But yeah, it's a treasured thing. I always really enjoyed.
But for this episode entirely, we are discussing the Imperium of Man, because that takes up a fat chunk of Warhammer lore. Oh, boo-hoo. What is Warhammer 40,000? Well, the 40,000 starts off is the year 40,000, the 41st millennium. That's where it takes place, is in the year 40,000, 41,000 AD.
Cool. That's good to know. I think last time I said 41st century. A millennium is a lot bigger than a century. So, yeah, makes sense. So, it's good to know.
You're already more knowledgeable. Let me read you a quote, first of many quotes in this video. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 years, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods.
That sounds awesome. That is such a great way to just give tonality to your world, you know? And it's really cool because, again, it builds on the presence of time, right? We touched on just like the millennia factor, but I love the whole quote of like, forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. It's interesting. I mean, even think about it with the Earth today. You know, we build all these structures and we hope that, you know, our memories, even ourselves, our legacies, you know, through our children last forever. But even in your DNA code, you will be forgotten. I'm sorry to give you existential dread. You're watching Warhammer 40K. I mean, this should be like a walk in the park, right? Even your DNA coding is going to be lost after, 10 generations. So I love this idea of how, at the end of the day, everything will just kind of wither away. It'll be forgotten, never to be relearned. And what exists now is this forever war. I think that's really, really cool. And again, sets the tone for, you know, these factions that are about to exist within this.
Everything blows. And it blows fucking hard. Warhammer is probably the most dark and depressing universes ever in fiction, or at least like top 3. Everything is so absurdly horrible, destructive, or overpowered that it all kind of ends up canceling itself out. It's like Dota. War rages across the galaxy. Interstellar travel is only possible due to sacrificing 1,000 souls a day.
And another thing I want to mention too is that, you know, all this technology also comes to fruition. I know we learned about it a little bit in the other video, how technology was used to explore the cosmos and to create gateways and bridge technologies, but now it seems like technology and advancement of it is only used for the chaos of war, which is kind of comparable to today, if you think about it.
To a rotting carcass of a man who you believe to be your god. Demonic gods and just demons tear open the fabric of reality on a whim. Other Xenos or even other humans
like
end
Thanos.
up killing each other in untold billions across the galaxy. It is a time of unending war, slaughter, and a bloodbath amongst everybody. Planets are deemed unrecoverable and are completely destroyed on a whim.
Planets more like solar systems, I'm gonna assume. I'm sure there's probably way more than just planet annihilation here, right? There's probably no-fly zones when it comes to solar systems.
Everything sucks, but that's like the charm of it. See, everything in Warhammer is evil, but being evil is kind of fun. Like, humanity in its own right is a xenophobic, prejudice, and religious zealot group that kill each other just as much as they kill all of their enemies.
Sounds relatable.
And they're like
Sounds like today, you know what I'm saying?
High-tier evil on the evil scale of Warhammer. Nobody is good. No matter who you are, everyone is some flavor, some color of evil.
If I can remember.
Whoever you pick, you are going to be the bad guy. But that's the fun of it. Because being the bad guy is badass. Villains are cool. They look cool. They got cool outfits. They got cool weapons. They got cool armies. Villains are cool, man.
And I have to agree. I feel like your definition of good changes because of the landscape. Like, for example, the reason why we believe good is good now is because we have society to reflect that. Well, what happens when society doesn't reflect that? Even more so, what happens if it reflects something else? Like, what is the definition of good or bad when a universe doesn't reflect those definitions, right? You can kind of make it whatever you want. It's interesting.
And when everyone is a villain, everyone is pretty cool. That's what makes this so charming, is that everyone can be the bad guy. So let's start off talking about the main bad guy, quote unquote, the Imperium of Man.
His hair, whack. His gear, whack.
The Imperium of Man is the main empire of the human race. All of humanity is under this one flag called the Imperium. And about 10,000 years ago, there was a man. He was the Emperor of mankind, a 10-foot-tall psychic demigod.
And apparently we don't know where he came from. Like, even to this day, at least from what I've read from the comics and a little bit of what I gathered from the last video, we don't even know where this man came from, which I think is really dope. Unless there's just hidden lore that I just don't know of. But I think I do remember hearing how he just kind of just came out of nowhere.
Who led humanity across the stars to colonize tons and tons of worlds, create superhuman soldiers, and really bring humanity into a new age. This man, the Emperor of Mankind, was a psyker. And a psyker is like a magician of sorts. In the world of 40K, there is the warp, the immaterium, kind of like hell, but sort of like a purgatory dimension of hell. And a psyker is someone who can take that power and manifest it through their mind to use it to do stuff, like witchcraft stuff, magician stuff, spells, and lots of other things, but we don't want to get too into that. The Emperor, big boy psyker. Top tier, A+, maybe even S. Now, the Emperor created a bunch of sons. Yes, created a bunch of sons known as the Primarchs. He created 18 Primarchs to have them lead all of the different legions of humanity to the different stars and planets to help colonize and bring it out. These Primarchs are basically like little versions of the Emperor. Not all of them are psychers, but a lot of them are very, very powerful, and they lead his special Space Marine legions.
And I believe in the last video it was mentioned that, you know, they were all shot out into space, and something happened where they like kind of got all separated, and the whole thing is to like rejoin all the factions, and then one of the created sons betrayed the king, the Emperor. And, yeah, I mean, that just created its own sort of disturbance within all of this, right? Its own sort of chaos amongst men.
Then this big clusterfuck happened called the Horus Heresy, where the Emperor's favorite son, the Primarch, Horus, ended up joining Chaos and leading 9 of the 18, half of his Primarchs directly to Earth to fight down the Emperor himself.
So when he said when they were led by Chaos, if I can remember correctly, the Chaos are people that, not people, Jesus, more like these entities that exist within the warp, right? Like the rotten god and the freaky god, the war god, if I'm correct. I'm just trying to remember from the last video.
Now, if you're wondering what Chaos is, remember what I mentioned earlier? The warp, that immaterium, the hellish place? In there lies the 4 Chaos gods.
See? I'm out here. Okay, we're doing good, man.
Imagine like Satan and 3 other Satans. The warp being kind of evil, those Chaos gods, that's the reason. And so those Chaos gods manipulated Horus, and then Horus helped manipulate all 8 other Primarchs to lead this giant coup directly on the Emperor on Earth. And they fucked up shit. After this huge civil war, Horus died, but not before brutally wounding the Emperor, and right at the end of his life, they put the Emperor on this large golden throne on Earth, in which he is now alive, just barely, but slowly rotting away, powering something called the Astronomicon, so long as he stays alive, and is fed 1,000 people a day.
Now, is this done for the betterment of, like, what I'm trying to say is, did he want this? Is this consensual? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to figure out if, you know, the bad side, the one that, you know, created mutiny, hooked him up, or was it his own faction that hooked him up to keep him alive? Because I'm trying to figure out if he's alive for the good of society, or maybe he's being used as fuel in another sense. But, I mean, either way, it just sounds like it's a terrible time.
The Astronomicon is like the North Star. If you want to do interstellar travel in 40K, you need to pass through that demonic warp I mentioned earlier. But how do you know where you're going? Well, the Emperor is there putting a nice little navigator right there. He helps navigate you to know where you're going. If you want to go from Earth to some crazy solar system across the way, you need to go through that warp, and then you need to know where you're going, go through there, and pop your way out. It's like doing nether travel in Minecraft, so you can shorten the distance between going to areas. So long as the Emperor is alive and being fed 1,000 people a day to stay alive, you can do that. The moment he dies, interstellar travel's gone for all of humanity.
Okay. All right. So what happens then? What happens when that gets, you know, dried out? Will we just start, you know, attacking ourselves? I feel like we've already done that.
You're so boned. Now, since the Horus Heresy 10,000 years ago, the Imperium has fallen from grace substantially. All technology has started to dwindle and die. There is now giant fundamental religious extremists that now believe the Emperor of Mankind was a deity, a true living god, which is probably the last thing the Emperor would have wanted to be remembered for.
Okay, that kind of answers a little bit about what we brought up just a moment ago about why he's even doing this, right? It's more of just an act of desperation, because once he goes out, it's game over. It's game over, man. It's game over. Yeah, so it just seems like an act of desperation, and throughout the eons of that, of living within that desperation, it only makes sense how religion and faith and all these other factions that are just a lot more extreme built around that desperation. It's really interesting. And you can see it, I mean, reflected in just how they look. They look cracked out.
So now you have this thing called the Ecclesiarchy, which is this giant church entirely devoted to spreading the good word of the Emperor. He is now the Holy Emperor God, the God Emperor of mankind. And all of the Imperium has taken up worshiping him to the fullest extent and killing anything that isn't humanity in his name. The Imperium has this futuristic gothic tone to it and a hefty religious zealotry to them. If you think anything against the Emperor, that's heresy and you deserve to die. That is called being a heretic.
Is that what some of y'all called me when I was introduced to Slanesh? Bro, it's my first time, okay? Like, come on, she's bad as hell, okay? I had to let it out. I won't fall for it again. But you know, I slipped up. It slipped up. It was the warp. It's not my fault. What I was gonna say is that you can see the passion, I guess you could say, passion within their architecture. You know, what Bricky was kind of touching on really briefly was the Gothic nature, you know, to the architecture, and then the architecture even within their spaceships. It's really cool seeing how their ideology influences not only their armory, their weapons, but their chapels, their environments. It's really, really awesome how it kind of just disperses in all realms. It's cool.
Heretics die in 40K. There is no such thing as freedom of religion. There is no such thing as freedom of speech, so long as you are against the Emperor. There is no such thing as any kind of tolerance. Everyone is a religious zealot. Some more than others, but no matter what, you're preaching that good word. So right now, everyone in humanity is trying to expand their empire across the stars. If you are a heretic, someone who doesn't believe in the Emperor, you are deserving of death. If you believe in the Chaos Gods, you are also a heretic and you deserve death. If you are an alien race of any kind, you are a filthy Xenos and you deserve death.
I mean, listen, you know, all this sounds crazy, right? But I mean, this is all reflected from real life. It doesn't sound too far-fetched. You know what I'm saying?
As well. So long as the murder continues and humanity expands, the Imperium of Man is very, very happy. However,
big old
the largest
crusade.
fighting force of this Imperium is my personal favorite faction, and the first faction we will discuss, the Astra Militarum, or also known as the Imperial Guard.
Pretty shit now, man. You finished. That's it, man. Game over, man.
The Imperial Guard
I just said
is the
that.
main
I
fighting
just quoted
force
that,
of
man.
the Imperium.
Bricky,
And
dude,
in a
we gotta-
world of horrifying creatures,
link up, man.
galactic monstrosities, the literal demons themselves breaking through the fabric of time to kill you, the Imperial Guard are untold billions of regular men and women wearing modern day like flak armor with a laser rifle. This is the humble las gun, the main weapon of the Imperial Guard. It fires superheated plasma lasers at an extremely fast fire rate. It is reliable, never jams. It can blow off limbs, giant holes in concrete. It is overall an extremely devastating weapon in modern day.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, oh, that sounds real good, but what the hell do you do when you have like a giant, like, mystical element coming at your atomic body made out of jelly? You can't do really anything. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to assume that these guys are just, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, like 6'2", 6'3". What are you going to do against an orc that's like 10 feet tall? That, you know, its one arm is the size of your body. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are just going to die en masse. But we've seen stuff like this even within nature. I mean, just look at ants, man. Like, they be going to war. And I feel like this is unfortunately the case for these guys. But salute to y'all, soldier.
It is one of the weakest in the 40K universe. Yeah, a laser rifle that never jams, it could blow off limbs, one of the weakest weapons. That's the world we're in right now. But who cares? Because the Imperial Guard has, in each battle, 500,000 of these men and women. 30,000 large armored tanks, 10,000 artillery batteries. The Imperial Guard wins through sheer numbers and firepower. They kind of have this World War I, World War II style aesthetic with legions of guardsmen as well as high company commanders and generals on the field along with them, and multiple kinds of troops. A normal Imperial Guard battle starts off with artillery, long lines of artillery, cracking the crust of the planet underneath the enemy's feet. And as this barrage continues, hundreds of thousands of guardsmen, a sea of guardsmen surges forward, firing and charging at everything possible while the planet rumbles as tanks roll up behind them.
That's really cool. I like that description there, Bricky. I'm not sure if you made it up yourself, but if you did, that's a great way of describing what happens when you just have a legion of just troops ready to go, you know. And I think that's probably the main reason why they're used. Otherwise, they wouldn't be used because it's just useless artillery at that point. But the fact that you have so many and you can just overwhelm your opponent, no matter what their technology is, there's always an eventual time. You know, like there's always a moment where there's a fraction of weakness, and that swarm can really just flood the gates. A lot of sci-fi, you know, some of the more difficult opponents, even if you're on the side that has advanced technology, their biggest opponent is one that is like a hive mind, you know, one that has just so much, like the population just overwhelming that no matter how advanced your technology is, you can't you can't outmass that.
Gunships block out the sun and tanks block out the dirt with the steps and hoofprints of millions of guardsmen. It is through numbers and sheer sundering firepower. They are the first and last line of defense for the Imperium and make up a huge bulk of the battles. The Imperial Guard is also made up of tons of different kinds of regiments. The Catachin jungle fighters live in a death world that's more hospitable than almost any firefight they'll ever get into. So they just have this steroid-looking, giant knife, Rambo Predator-looking sons of bitches,
about to say, that
where
looks like
nothing is
Rambo.
anywhere near as scary as a simple knight on their home planet. planet. You have the Valhallan Winter Soldiers who haven't felt their toes in 300 years, the Mordian Iron Guard who are more interested in making their shoes shine than actually fighting a battle.
And again, I love how all of these, you can see elements of real life, like some of them being Britannia. And like from British colonialism, you have like suits, if I were to go back a little bit, like suits that are almost like Soviet in nature. It's really, really cool. I like how, you can still see, even though at the beginning it says like, relearning technology, all that, it kind of disappears, but you can see and still feel fragments of a prior world within the, just in the wallpaper of these. So I think that's really cool.
And then, of course, the big one, the Cadians from Cadia. The biggest export of guardsmen in the entirety of the Imperium. You will fire your first gun at 5. You will disassemble and reassemble it at 10. You will have pounding artillery drills day in and day out at 15. And you'll fight your first swarm lord at 16.
Whoa, what
and if
the hell
you
is that?
mention Cadia,
What?
you will burst into
Fighting
an
that at 16?
unrelenting amount of tears and sadness like I do daily. To quote, I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard, 50 regiments including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. The Imperial
That's
Guard
fire.
are my personal favorite faction.
It's a good
in
mentality
40K.
to have.
They're
I think
the
it's
army
the
I
only
collect
thing
the
you have
most,
to have in
the
this
ones I
world.
enjoy playing the most, and the one I enjoy in the lore sense a lot. There's something about just a regular man with a laser rifle being told to charge the horrors of this universe and willingly doing so for his god emperor. It's just poetic. They actually represent the main Imperial Guard tactics pretty well. Large amounts of artillery that doesn't require a line of sight, lots of tanks, tons of infantry, drop troops, and gunships. Overall, they're pretty similar to how they sound, though a little bit expensive to collect, unfortunately.
That's a shame. But yeah, I was going to say, I wonder how each one of these factions, in particular with this one, how they work within the actual board game. I think that's like that's pretty cool because yeah, you do think of it within like a novel sense, you can ponder it, but to be able to like see it for the physicality of it within the board game, I think that's really cool. And to have their factions represent that, like for example, maybe another one, they might be high power in magic, but requires more precision on the actual board game. I don't know. I'm just making guesses, but that's cool. I like how they implement the characteristics and the qualities into the board game.
And they don't hit a lot. They have a bit of a bad aim, but you don't really care because you're just drowning them in shots. However, if you want more accurate fire and specialization, we can move on to talk about Space Marines. The Angels of Death are up next. Space Marines are
We know a little bit
genetically
about Space
engineered
Marines.
super soldiers and superhumans. They're given extra organs, their skin tissue is toughened, their bones are stronger, they're taller than the average person. They're pretty massive people, and these are the specialized super soldiers that carry out a lot of the more specific tasks for the Imperium. And there's tons of legions of them. In fact, there's one per Primarch. Each Primarch, the Emperor's son, as I mentioned before, oversees their legion of Space Marines. The genetic upgrade they get is based on the genes of said Primarch. It's something called a gene seed. That's what brings them up to this like superhuman level. As stated, each Primarch has their own legion. Robot Girly Man has the Ultramarines. Jagatai Khan has the White Scars. Rogel Dorn has the Imperial
we learned
Fists.
about a little bit of
Corvus
this
Corax
in
has
the
the
last
Raven
video.
Guard. And there's a whole bunch of other side sections that are also extremely interesting and have a little bit more of a twist on the average Space Marines.
So the cool thing I love about this is that it gets into just gene splicing and just all that cool stuff because it came from, again, these aren't just organic children, at least from what I believe, or organic children from the Emperor. These were all created, right? So it's cool to just see how science still plays a factor into it. I'm not sure if he'll go deeper into how they specifically were able to do it, but regardless, it explains why these guys stand out from the average human, because, you know, they have genetic codings of psychers, and they probably have an innate or more of an innate ability of tapping into the warp. So that's really, really cool. You know, they're able to really, they're quite literally built different.
Which we will discuss in a bit. Humorously enough, I don't have a whole lot to say about Space Marines. They're superhumanly fast. In fact, it's been said that nothing that large should move that quick. These men in power armor moving at blazing fast speeds. Their reflexes are faster. Their skin is tougher. They are overall just extremely powerful soldiers. In fact, where they differ comes down to which Space Marine Legion we're talking about. For instance, the Ultramarines done by Robot Gilliman are the main blue boys. Strong in almost every way, the jack of all trades kind of group that are a little bit too strong, and that's a lore problem, but the White Scars by Jagatai Khan are all about speed freaks, go fast. We're talking attack bikes, we're talking land speeders, you want to go in quick,
and all
you
that
want to
cool
hit
stuff.
them hard,
Hell
you
yeah.
want them to be swarming around like buzzflies, buzz saws, with the speed of buzz saws. Fuck you, Pale King. Salamanders.
Dude, it happens,
fire.
bro. I understand.
Fire in the forge, fire in battle. Flamers, melta-guns, multi-meltas. Just so long as something can be burning, that's big. And they're also actually some of the nicest of the Space Marines. A lot of Space Marines have this kind of like holier-than-thou thing because of their genetic strength. However, the Salamanders tend to put human lives above the lives of themselves, which is actually rather rare.
That's interesting. Maybe he'll get into it or not. Regardless, I think that's just an interesting fact, whether it's explained or not. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
They're also all black.
Hey!
But not like just regular black, like 2 a.m. line at a White Castle black. Like they have a charcoal, dark, ashy exterior.
Yeah, they kind of look like zombies
red
a little bit.
eyes. Apparently something about living on their home planet of Nocturne, which I don't know if that makes much sense, but who cares? This is like fantasy land anyway. Overall, Salamanders are actually one of my personal favorite legions because they're just really cool. They're fun to play as because of all their flamer weapons, and they have a nice, like, more heartwarming lore as opposed to being super evil like everyone else is. Oh my god, we're not even a quarter of the way through the Space Marine legions. Imperial Fists believe in the power of the siege and defensive positions. Raven Guards, master of stealth and sabotage while having bird helmets.
Cool, that's
Iron
fire.
Hands, masters of machines and vehicles while being really goddamn good at being sold on eBay after one nerf. Space Wolves, Vikings and wolves and tons of wolves and axes, battle axes, fur everywhere.
Nice.
Space Wolves,
Okay.
angry, big teeth, Blood Angels, the genetic defect to make them want to drink blood and go crazy, called the Red Thirst. They have Cupid wings and stuff, which is a little bit strange, and they are all super gay for Sanguinius. Dark Angels are old school knights and inner circle theme, and
Are you a heretic?
Me? No, never. Once from the blue moon, I know.
You got caught lacking. You can't get caught lacking, man. I'm telling you. Can't be caught lacking out here.
Death Watch, a fancy anti-Xenos group that nobody plays because Death Watch, and they look cool though, but no one plays them. I don't know about Death Watch. They're there though. Black
Almost
Templars,
sounds like the Night
for the
Guard.
people who, if you haven't prayed at least 3 times a day, you're gonna start praying out that airlock. And I'm sure there's some other chapters I may have missed as well, like Crimson Fists and stuff. But those are the main ones right here. Here, quote from the Emperor himself. They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war I shall forge them.
Fire.
They shall
Wow,
be
that
of
goes
iron
hard.
will and steely sinew. In great armor I shall clad them, and with the mightiest weapons shall they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease, no sickness shall blight them. They shall have such tactics, strategies, and machines that no foe will best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are my defenders of humanity.
Wow.
They are my space marines, and they shall know no fear.
Did your pop say that about you? Sucks being a Space Marine, but damn, that's some motivation right there. I'm just saying. I hope each and every one of your fathers has this much faith in y'all. Okay, I'm telling you, these quotes go so hard. They paint such a great picture of just the emotion, you know, the reason why you want to fight. I still don't want to go out there, but it's motivating. It almost got me out there.
And on the tabletop, they fuck. Oh, they fuck hard. As of making this video, Space Marines are laughably strong. That might change at some point, but overall, Space Marines just have it's like a Swiss Army knife, a tool for anything you need, except it's like a gold-plated Swiss Army knife. It is
That's a
extremely
good way of putting
strong.
it, actually.
If you are actually getting into the tabletop of Warhammer, Space Marines are a great start. Also, whatever gameplay style you have, whether you want to be sit back with long range and heavy weaponry, go fast and run in, or even just full melee, all of these options are totally there for you. Space Marines are super badass, but unfortunately, it's time we start praying to our new god, the 2011 Honda Civic.
So is it any
Really?
wonder people are afraid of technology?
Yeah, these are the guys that cracked the
Adeptus
Space Marines, right?
Mechanicus. The Adeptus Mechanicus are a technophile cult on Mars. Now, these people are a little bit weird because they don't actually really believe in the Emperor of Mankind. And you might think, oh, whoa, Bricky, that sounds
Heresy.
like some heresy.
Heresy!
A little bit. They believe in the Emperor, they believe in his power, but they don't pray to him. They pray to something called the Omnissiah. And the Omnissiah is this kind of machine god that they believe permeates in all machines.
I wonder if it's the machine that is also keeping the Emperor alive. Like, it would make sense why the humans would, you know, praise the Emperor, but it would also make even more sense why these guys would praise the machines that is keeping the Emperor alive, right? Because they're just mechanics, man. They're just regular mechanics in your swab.
And if you think, well, wait a minute, they believe in a different god as well? That sounds like super heresy. Well, yes-ish, but they also make all your guns, and they make all your tanks,
Yeah.
and they make everything that you have.
Yeah.
So you can't really tell them to fuck off?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to win nothing if you don't got stuff to shoot people with.
And again, I feel like it's also one of the reasons why they're keeping, well, I don't know. This is all speculation. Matter of fact, I should let this play a little bit more because you might answer. But in my opinion, literally what I just said a couple seconds ago, they're also keeping the Emperor alive. From what I know, from what I think I know.
See, their Omnissiah at least makes sense from their standpoint. They believe it to be a deity that permeates through all machines. Your Honda Civic, your standard bolt gun, your Dune Strider Walker, your giant mechs, your huge ships. The Omnissiah is present through all. And the only reason your stuff works is because the machine's spirit in it says it works. If you
Wow.
want your gun
Damn.
to work,
That's
your tank
crazy.
to run, you must pray to it.
Does that have any connection with the souls that are consumed by the Emperor? Because otherwise, it's like, how the hell does machine have a soul? But, you know, they're over here feeding the Emperor, who is hooked up to a machine, 1,000 souls a day. So would that be connected to any of that? I would assume that's like the first connection I would think.
And I mean full stop. You need to start chanting in high Gothic. You need to burn incense. You need to sit on your knees and pray to that car. You need to rub oil on your robes, and you need to go ahomina, homina, 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 homina. Full stop. If you want your damn thing to work, if you want your gun to fire, you need to do that. They are very bizarre, and they actually have a bit of a point because it's obviously working. And
Yeah.
if you look at
Yeah.
them, I don't know how that works. So they obviously know something about what they're doing. The most notable member of the Adeptus Mechanicus is Archmagos, whatever, Belisarius Call. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
like
the
the
group we're
Hunchback
talking
of
about.
Notre Dame, but
These are these weirdos. Here.
eons in the future.
Omnissiah Creed. The credo, Omnissiah. There is no truth in flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness. There is no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death.
First off, bars. Second off, that is really awesome. I love whenever he reads the quotes to these factions because it just gives, again, such a tonality to it. It gives like such a weight to these things that could almost seem a little bit out of our grasp. But, you know, hearing that, you know, you already get the idea that they reject the biological weakness of humanity, you know, when it comes to the flesh, when it comes to the organs. So it's interesting to see how they truly embraced the technology of mechanisms, you know, around them, and how that's also imbued with their ideology of that. Because again, this is a world where your thoughts have power as well too, and that gets absorbed into the warp. So having that overall even emotion can literally generate power, which is really cool. I love that.
Flesh is weakness, flesh is death. The Omnissiah is the god of the machines, and if you wish to be whole, if you wish to be holy, if you wish to give unto him, you must saw down your limbs and remove your organs and replace them with mechanical parts, because that is what he wants, and that is how you will become enlightened. Hard technophiles mixed with religious extremism. Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, for their army side of things, they are with the Scutari. The Scutari operate with very bizarre weaponry and lots of different kinds of vehicles, tanks, and different people in between. They're very weird, but they have extremely wacky and enjoyable, and in fact quite effective, both in the real game and in the lore, weaponry and gear. Overall, as an army on the tabletop, they're very weird and have a whole bunch of different shenanigans, but if you like kind of that quirky, wacky techno thing, I'd give them a pickup.
They look cool. Like, again, I'm loving the designs of the tabletop. Super awesome designs. And I can see how the wallpapers were inspired. I'm not sure if the wallpapers that we see here inspired the tabletop designs, or is it the other way around, but this is really cool. I'm loving how these figures are looking, man.
Hell, they're so paranoid. I gotta keep going. They're so paranoid and crazy. These Dune Striders you see right here, one guy was able to make them work. One guy, and he died. And they're so scared they'll never work again that they keep them on and they never turn them off, and they run around in a circle the whole time.
Wow.
Until they need them, and then they corral it. And they go to
Wow.
battle.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's cool as hell, though.
The Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, if you want to talk about faith, though, let's talk about the Sisters of Battle.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go.
The Sisters of Battle of the Adeptus Sororitas, if that's how I pronounce it correctly, is an all-female group of battle sisters going through the ecclesiarchy section of the Imperium. The ecclesiarchy is, of course, the church. This is, imagine a private army of the church, which is scary. And it is. The sisters are an extremely zealotous force, and they take this to a full extreme. They believe in three main things: faith, martyrdom, and fire.
Even like their designs. Here, let's go back.
They believe,
Like, just looking at even their designs here, so cool. I love how they just represent the nuns, but it's just, instead of black, it's just flooded and just absolutely bleached with like this red blood color, man. It's just awesome. You got the doves in the background as well too. Again, I just love how these wallpapers just give a sense and overall essence of what Bricky's talking about with these guys. I think it does like a really good job.
believe in three main things: faith, martyrdom, and fire. Through the bolter, the flamer, and the melta, the Sisters of Battle are extremely potent at taking out chaos and heretics. Mainly heretics, because as they are a fighting section of the ecclesiarchy church, that's the big thing they want to kill. Any form of heretic will face the Emperor's justice through those three main weapons: the bolter, the flamer, and the melta, and they will do so with extreme prejudice. Literally. They are the closest things we have to nuns in space. And I'm talking hardcore nuns.
Yeah, they look
carry
badass,
holy
bro.
fire on their back.
That's cool,
They have
man.
holy books and sigils all across their armor. Their main battle tank is a fucking pipe organ missile launcher.
That's cool. That's actually really cool, bro. What? I gotta see that as like a live figure. You know what I'm saying? That is just such a cool concept. You know, you're just walking around enjoying your day, and you just feel the earth shake, and these giant, loud organs blasting through the atmosphere. That is just a really cool concept. I love how every idea is just maximized to like, and shot with adrenaline to a 10. It's awesome.
They have small babies that they have like removed their brain capacity to make them little servant cherubs to fly around and give them ammunition and shit.
We talked about these in one of the other trailers that we watched. I was like, why the hell are there baby angels? And I kind of guessed that was what they were used for, because, you know, getting the overall idea of like, okay, there's no 9-to-5s, there's no necessary parenting, there's just war and chaos. I kind of figured and took an assumption that, yeah, these babies are kind of just like fetuses that just weren't gonna make it, and instead of just like kind of be like, well, okay, goodbye, they're just like, well, we're gonna use these guys. But to hear that they're being used to give ammo out that's so awesome, bro. That's awesome, man. Imagine you're in war and you just see you see your son. See your son give you ammo. That's cool as hell, bro.
They drop churches from low orbit as mini drop pods onto battles.
No way, bro.
They drop churches into battles, and they blare war hymns and holy music from their frigates in low atmosphere.
That's actually really cool. All right, so far these girls, my bad. These girls they have the coolest faction. They have the coolest faction so far. This is awesome.
And shower holy water across the battlefield. These are the people you are dealing with, and they're fucking awesome.
I was about to say, they look
literally
cool as hell, man.
Stave off demons on the tabletop because their faith is that strong. Remember the warp, the demons from the warp?
Yeah.
Well, the warp also manifests in your mind. All of your emotions,
Yep, we
negative
just
and
talked about
positive,
this, actually.
go through the
Yep.
warp. It's the immaterium, the place of all things. So if you are that mentally fortified, that mentally strong, you can stave off horrifying demons. And all these girls, not a crack. Not a crack in that mental armor.
So you guys let me know if you heard of this, and it sucks. But, no, I don't need to look it up. I know what it is. Claymore. Real OGs, you'll know what I'm talking about the moment I mention Claymore. If you are a fan of anime, first off, you should watch that show. It's an OG one, but these girls remind me of the girls in Claymore because, you know, of their mental fortitude and just their badassery. Again, if you know about Claymore, let me know in the comment section because, yeah, okay, I see y'all, but wasn't that a good comparison? Y'all didn't think I was going to whip that out, huh? Yeah, that's cool, man.
Now, as much as a meme as they are, and as much as their models look a lot like Ongo Gabloglian, yeah, which I can't unsee anymore, I gotta say, I love their design. I think they're extremely cool. They're another army that I'm currently collecting. They just released a whole new line of figures very recently, and they look wonderful. Everything from Celestine, the living, literally undying saint from the Triumph of St. Catherine, which is literally a funeral procession as a model. Those organ tanks I mentioned earlier. This shit is the most over-the-top badassery in a lot of the Warhammer universe, and goddamn it, is it over the top. But Sisters of Battle are so cool.
That's cool,
While
man.
I'm a guardsman at heart, this is such a cool faction. By Bolter Shell, Flamer Burst, and Melta Blast, the mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sin of existence.
That's awesome,
So
man.
it has been for 5 millennia, so shall it be until the end of time.
So far, these girls are like low-key, just lore-wise, the coolest ones so far. I don't know if they're the strongest, but god damn, they are cool as hell.
And speaking of burning demons.
I can see.
Great.
The Grey Knights are the first army I actually collected back in 7th edition. The Grey Knights are a super secretive and much more old school look at power armored knights, except they are all psychers. All of them have that crazy space magic magician shit. For every 100,000 guardsmen, there's one Grey Knight. For every 10,000 Sisters of Battle, there's one Grey Knight. For every 1,000 Space Marines, there's one Grey Knight.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I guess I was a little wrong with my assumption that Space Marines, well, maybe it's just a dormant trait. Maybe they just are unable to access their psychic abilities, unlike the Grey Knights. But I would assume, since, you know, Space Marines are kind of derived from the Emperor's children, that they will all kind of have the ability to you know, be a psyker. But maybe it's just dormant, or maybe that only exists within the primary sons rather than the, I guess, the followers of, you know, the sons.
Grey Knights are the strongest of the strong, both in mental will and absolute just strength. These are Space Marines that are all high-level psychers, all of them able to specifically do one goal, and that is kill demons. The Emperor believed that the demons of chaos were the #1 threat to the Imperium, and he probably is right. However, this group is entirely based on doing that through a myriad of tactics. Coming from the planet, or I guess the moon, of Titan in the Sol system, the Grey Knights are thrown through extremely rigorous training and are as clear of mind and soul as they possibly can be. Since the demons of the warp are the warp and your mind projects to the warp, people can go insane very fast, especially lower level psychers. These Grey Knights need to be able to harness the warp in the presence of demons and stay perfectly sane.
That's awesome.
One of their
I
characters,
like that.
one of my favorite characters, is named Castellan Crow. He has a demon blade, the black blade of Mahamahama, and he has to have it on him because it tempts everyone nearby, constantly beckoning them, use my power.
Wow, that's really dope, man. Ah, yeah, that's a cool concept. Damn. That is a cool concept. Because not only does it give lore to just the weaponry that are within this world, but it just shows you organically just the type of person you have to be inside of the armor to wield a weapon like that. That's really cool.
Use my strength, suck my penis, whatever the possibility. And so he has to keep it on him all the time, as this thing whispers to him consistently, and he has to stave it off forever, being alone in his chambers or on the battlefield, because anyone who gets too close to it might be tempted a little too hard.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. So it's not even just the fact that he's tempted, but it tempts other people, so he has to quite literally fight and survive, sleep, eat, and isolation. And again, all within this suit of armor as well, too. Wow, that's fascinating.
He is that pure of heart and mind, and all the characters in the Grey Knights are basically like that. The only issue is that the Grey Knights have a scorched earth policy.
Oh.
More ways than one.
Wow.
If they're fighting demons, demons corrupt and make people crazy. So if I'm a guardsman and I'm fighting demons, and the Grey Knights arrive,
Uh-oh.
and they kill all the demons,
Oh, you're next.
I'm a risk. And so guess who's not making it out of there? On the tabletop, they're very strike fast, strike hard kind of people. They teleport all around the place. They are fast strike groups, small amounts of models because they're so dang strong. You only have so many characters, but with it, you get in there, you're very tough, very tanky, you hit really hard,
Nice.
and you try to bounce around the battlefield quickly, but you don't have numbers, and so every dead Grey Knight hits really damn hard.
I gotta appreciate Bricky for also explaining their role within the actual tabletop, because, you know, even though, from what I know about Warhammer, and the least I know about it is within the tabletop, it also gives so much depth and character within the universe, hearing their role within the tabletop as well, too, if that makes sense.
They're fun, though, if you like that kind of fast-striking kind of army. Oh, and also, Caldor Drago is a thing. We're not even going to get into Caldor Drago. All right, that is, oh my goodness gracious. I am the hammer. I am the mail about his fist. I am the spear in his hand. Though we are lost, I am the shield on his arm. I am the flight of his arrows. I am the hammer. I am the sword. I am the shield. I am a soldier at the battle at the end of time. Grey Knights are pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
They are as holy as you can get for a Space Marine. If you like Space Marines and you want to, you know that they're holy enough, you want to be holier, Grey Knights. Now, if you want to be holier and big, let's talk Imperial Knights.
Yo, they look crazy.
Do you
What
like
the hell is that?
gigantic walkers the size of homes or medium-sized buildings? Do you want to kill heretics, but you want to kill like 40 of them per turn? Do you want a gigantic old-school knight noble house style of walkers with giant chainsaw
Bro,
arms?
these things
Then you
look
got Imperial
massive, man.
Imperial Knights, it's not a whole lot to talk about them because they're just gigantic walkers, but they have this old school, like, house feel to them. Like, literally, like, they're houses. Each Imperial Knight comes from a house, and each of them act in their own special way. These behemoth of walkers also destroy almost everything in their path, killing full swaths of squads in a couple shots, stepping on legions of troops. Like, these things do not mess around.
And they look like they get active, too. From just that little piece of cinema that we just saw there, it looks like they're quite mobile. Like, they're not like tanks, you know? I think walkers, like he said, are a good description on how they move around. But, I mean, I don't know. That walker wasn't walking, and it looked like he was lunging.
And they look so cool. Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, actually, for that matter, don't have a whole lot to discuss. They're just super big, heavy walkers, and they look different depending on your house or Chaos God you currently believe in. And overall, these things are just really cool if you want to murder everything in your path. They're the big, scary, big unit of Warhammer, and if you want to collect them, go to town. They make for a great painting project, too. Game mode back down to earth.
I didn't even
Let's
think of
talk
that.
something
That's really
A
cool.
little bit
I like
different,
that.
a little more gold. If guardsmen are regular soldiers, Space Marines are super soldiers, Grey Knights are super soldiers, the Adeptus Custodes are super soldiers cubed. The Adeptus Custodes are the third major army I own. I know, 3 armies. I know, I got carried away, okay? But that's all. I only have 3, okay? They are our final brand of Space Marines, but these ones are super special. Okay, if a guardsman is 6 foot, a Space Marine is 7 feet, a custodian is 8 feet. These are the giant defenders of Holy Terra, which is also Earth. Earth is Terra. Earth, Terra. Themselves. These are the people that literally guard the Emperor's throne room.
So basically, like, literal last line of defense when it comes to protecting the Emperor, who is still hooked up to that throne, being used for God knows what.
Hence, Custodes. These boys protect the Emperor's throne room at all times and are literally like handcrafted people. They're not humans brought up by a gene seer or something. These are all handcrafted super soldiers. I think from a tube. These behemoth of men are like 8 feet, 8.5 feet tall, and functionally immortal. They stand still, spear in hand, for hundreds of years without the need to sleep and barely even the need to eat, watching over the throne room and every other area of Holy Terra for their entire purpose in life. And oh my lord, are they terrifying. These custodians put Space Marines to shame. If you liked your super
Which is
soldiers,
crazy to
your
think
super
about.
mega soldiers, one of these men can take on probably 3 Space Marines and most likely win. There are many different groups of custodians as well, like the Solar Watch, or there's also one of my personal favorite, the Aquilan Shield. The Aquilan Shield go out to seemingly unimportant individuals and protect them because they believe that they are going to be doing something very important in their lives. For instance, let's say a regular guardsman gets the protection of this giant 8.5 foot tall golden god because that guardsman will end up becoming a general one day. Or
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, I'll tell you what, if I'm getting, like, bodyguard coverage from these guys, I'm going to feel so safe. Are you kidding me?
something of that nature. The custodians work in mysterious ways and are almost always outnumbered, but never outmatched. These people
That's a good way
are
of putting it.
pretty horrifying, both on the tabletop as well as in the lore. There are very few of them, however, and there's actually an extremely small amount of them. But that's kind of the point. There's only so many of these people that can have war gear this strong, weapons this powerful, and training this good. And the Custodians have all three of it. For 100 years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For
That's
100
crazy.
years,
Wow.
I did not but wait.
That's
Yet
solitude.
Had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years, I stood my watch, and as it ends, I can tell you this: patience is a weapon.
So cool, man. My goodness. Every single time he reads a quote, I just feel like I have to pause it so I can just digest that into my psyche, because I think it just goes to show you why these guys are just so strong. You know, it's just the fact that they have practiced solitude and patience, and obviously being handcrafted as well definitely doesn't hurt. That's just a really cool feature to have.
The Custodians are the top dogs of the Imperium, and they hurt just that same way. Though I do want to discuss a little bit about the Sisters of Silence before we get out of here, because the Sisters of Silence I also have a few of, and they're really fun, but they don't get enough attention. These kind of bald plume ladies are a whole group of pariahs, or also known as blanks. We'll be referring to them as blanks from now on. So as every mind is somewhat connected to the warp, these blanks are a genetic mutation that has it suppressed heavily. Because
that's
of that
cool. I like
mind
that.
Suppression,
You have a blank
normal
mindset.
people feel this weird, like, uncomfortable nature when around them. When a Sister of Silence walks past them, you feel ill. You feel just uncomfortable and strange. So most of them don't actually live past childhood, because once they are birthed, they're, well, you know, killed or something at a very young age, because they just emit a horrifying aura.
They just kill them because the vibes are off. That's crazy, man.
These ladies, however, are guardians of the throne as well for more psychic threats. See, none of the Custodians are psychers, so they have a difficult time dealing with major demons and other kinds of psychic phenomena. These sisters are extremely specialized in it, all of them taking a vow of silence as they don't speak, hence the term Sisters of Silence, but they communicate through hand gestures and things of that nature.
I like how their mask also represents that too. So again, it's just really cool being able to see the ripples of an ideology in like their gear, their architecture, their weapons. It's just really awesome to see.
But if there's a demon issue, if there's any kind of warp-based problem, the sisters are extremely adept at dealing with them, thanks to their blank gene. They normally work a lot of time with the Custodians because they have to deal with both kinds of threats, but they're not represented that way on the tabletop. In fact, they only have like one real model for them, which is very unfortunate. I hope they'll get something new soon, because I think they should really be working together as it is that way in the lore, but hopefully we'll get there soon. But if we're talking about blanks, let's talk assassins.
Ah, word. Okay. Damn, they got all types of stuff.
It's been a long video. We're about to round it out. We got this and one more human thing, and then we're done. The assassins, though, the Officio Assassinorum, oh boy, these
Spec
people
Ops,
are
man.
deadly.
Let's go.
Yeah, they're called assassins. They should be, but oh man, these people will mess you up. So these are from the Officio
He's hyped as hell. Let's
Assassinorum,
go.
a very special organization, and they are handpicked by the Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum from the what was it called? Schola Progenium. It's basically an orphan school. Your parents got murdered by demons or something, you get sent to this and you get trained to be whatever. Tempestus Drop Troop, an Inquisitor, maybe even. Maybe you get a blank gene and you get thrown into the Sisters of Silence, or sometimes you just disappear. When you are taken, however, you go to one of 4 temples, because the Assassinorum works in the temple style of things. These temples are the Vindicare, Caluxus, Calidus, and Eversor temples. Let's start with the Vindicare. I'm far away. I've been sitting here for 3 weeks.
Sniper. Oh, okay. I see you.
The Vindicare temple is the main sniper-based temple. Gigantic sniper rifles for all these assassins. Their whole point is to be able to be in a spot and sit there, eye and scope, for weeks, waiting for their perfect target, taking people
That's
out
crazy.
from literal miles away after extremely long time periods. The Vindicare Temple is about precise, perfect aim. There have been reports of Vindicares being able to single out particular body parts from over 2-3 miles away. Temples in the head,
damn,
the jugular, for instance, and been sitting there after weeks. And when they're ready, take that shot. Time is done. Packs them
Wrap
up.
up.
The
Yeah,
Custodes
that's
Temple,
cool, man. I
however,
like that.
Is a lot more about shape shifting and deviant art. It's mostly a female-based one, or at least it
I ain't
seems
mad,
to be.
okay? I ain't
and this
mad.
allows a lot of body augmentation.
Can't call me a heretic
for
either.
certain individuals to be able to kind of transmorph themselves and infiltrate areas that are problems. These assassins will end up taking missions that take them years, 2-3 years, to infiltrate a heretical group and slowly work their way up, just to get enough time to put a bullet into the main target's head and then escape unharmed. Or become the main target and sabotage it from within. These are all completely about deception, mind tricks, polymorphing, and everything in between. And lots
Sleeper
of
agent.
Lots of
Hell yeah.
drones. The Eversor Temple. Just kind of disturbing one. The Eversor Temple is about when you don't want anything to come back alive, friend or foe. You want it all dead. An Eversor is psychogenically conditioned with just psychotherapy and psychological torture.
I can see that. I can see that. Like this, like, are you even human at this point? I don't think you are.
To only feel violence, hatred, and anger. It does the Clockwork Orange style of thing of just making you forced to watch never-ending pain and misery and psycho conditioning, I guess is the term. And then they pump you full of tons of psychedelic drugs and they cryo-freeze you.
Oh
and then
my
they drop
goodness,
you in
bro.
an area where they just want to make sure everything is dead. And then you defrost, full of just all this insane, mind-boggling psychotherapy and psychedelic drugs, and you just go to town.
You just go on a rampage. Because I'm gonna assume that when you're cryogenically frozen, you're probably still in that mindscape. If anything, it might slow down time, so you might feel it even longer. So when you finally thawed out, yeah, you're gonna like go Kaneki on people. You're gonna just go absolute ape shit, man.
Yeah, if you don't care if anyone comes back alive. You're like, all right, lost cause, send them in. Finally, there's the most bizarre temple, the Caluxus Temple. The Caluxus assassins are feared even among the other temples. So that blank gene, the people will go to the Caluxus Temple with this as well. And this is where they can harness that to be massively anti-psyker or even just anti-regular people. They are seen with extreme fear and distrust among many, many people. They are described by the Eldar by quote as being pure evil. Imagine that uncomfortable feeling from that blank gene I mentioned, and then imagine them being taught and given equipment to amplify it by 100. If normally regular people feel uncomfortable, now they are basically akin to being a siren wailing directly in your ear. And if you're a psyker, oh no. The sheer presence of a Caluxus assassin
you're probably
is
feeling
enough
that
for you
aura
to
is
tear
crazy.
your skin off. You will rather gouge your eyes out and rip your nails off than even being near this person. The Caluxus assassin is when you want psychers to literally lose their minds, and they will go on their knees and ask you to gun them down because it is a suitable choice over being anywhere near you.
That's so interesting, because I wonder what they're feeling, you know, because it's all emotion, right? The warp is, it's not all emotion, but emotion plays a big factor in it. So I'm curious as to what the psychers quite literally are experiencing. Like, I would love the details of exactly what it is, but I also love the fact that it's unknown. I love the fact that you can't really tell what exactly this feeling is, but it's enough for you to want to off yourself.
Motto of that temple is, that which is unknown and unseen commands the greatest fear. Now, for tabletop, assassins aren't that special. You can call them in no matter what Imperium faction you are, and they do a lot of work for themselves, but at the same time, they're very specialized and require a lot of finesse. And they work the way you generally want them to, though. You want to cause some distortion and weird stuff, you take a Calidus. You want to just murder swaths of infantry and then blow up Eversor. You want to kill that one guy, Vindicare, and if you have a lot of Psychers, Caluxus. It's a nice little, like, jack of all trades if you have a specific thing you want to kill. And you get to choose which is really fun. But now, let's talk about the last human faction. We can round this video out before we do part 2. The Inquisition. And we have a lot to talk about with them.
The Inquisition.
Oh boy. Where do I even begin with the Inquisition? Take every secret police you can think of. The KGB, the Gestapo, the CIA, FBI, any of these kinds of people. And then mark it up by about 10 and give them the most power in the entire Imperium.
Really?
You know what?
Really?
How about this? This right here. It's a
let me read it.
Quote. This is the Imperial motto. The motto of the Inquisition. I apologize for my bad pronunciation. Innocentia nihil probat. Innocence proves nothing.
Oh shit, dude.
The most
That's crazy.
powerful organization in the Imperium, the secret police, their number one motto is innocence proves nothing.
Not innocent until proven guilty. Innocence proves nothing. We don't give a damn.
The Inquisition goes around like the secret police or like detectives to find issues in the Imperium. And they have different ordos depending on which one we're talking about. The Ordo Hereticus, the Ordo Xenos, the Ordo Malleus, for instance, and a whole bunch of other ones. Hereticus is obvious, they deal with heretics. Xenos tries to find alien threats, and Malleus is demons. They all have different specializations in what they're trying to go for.
I love how
as
they all
this
specialize.
Inquisitor. And that's what they're called, Inquisitors. Each of them, as an Inquisitor, has their own free reign to do as they wish. They may have a ship and a crew, and they go out to find problems and interrogate people a lot. They are above the law in every department over Space Marines. Now, the Space Marines might argue against them and stuff, and there might be a lot of blowback, but technically they are above them as Inquisitors. They are looking to investigate and figure out coups and cults and demonic incursions and possible Xenos issues like gene stealers or a new threat coming into an area.
See, that's another thing that obviously, I mean, this world is so massive. I'm sure he can't go into it, but I'm interested in learning even what happens within the inner conflicts of just with the human side of things, because we haven't even really touched on other things, and I'm sure that we're probably going to do that in part 2, but man, I think it's just so cool just hearing like gene stealers and stuff like that. Like, what? But it makes sense within his world.
They're about learning that stuff and actually doing detective work. And memes aside, they're pretty good at it. The Inquisition having all of this power does make them a little bit power hungry and frantic sometimes. And yes, it is still a bad thing, but most of them are pretty good at their job. And they spend a lot of time being very diligent to make sure that all of these leads they follow are proper and correct. They're basically space detectives with just enormous power and sometimes a bit of a power complex. And we haven't even talked about Exterminatus yet. Exterminatus.
That's a cool name.
Exterminatus is deeming a planet unfit to be saved.
I was literally about to say, it probably just means complete annihilation, just bedrock of a planet.
I deem that this planet is demon infested, and taking it back will cost too many resources and is not worth it. I have now committed Exterminatus on this planet. I will now sign the death warrant of an entire Imperium planet, as it is unfit to take and better to be destroyed than allow the enemy to hold it. This can mean saturation bombardment. This can mean cracking the planet's core and breaking it apart. Doesn't matter. Render this planet inhospitable to all life. Yes, the innocence proves nothing people are the only people who can choose this planet must die in its entirety.
Yeah, that's not too much power.
You're playing the villain. Now, it is memed a lot, but most Inquisitors are very rare to do Exterminatus. Exterminatus is a very crazy thing. There's only so many worlds that you don't want to destroy all of them.
And another thing, too, is that I'm sure, like, destroying the planet also takes up a considerable amount of resources as well, too. And also, I'm sure the Warp loves that. I'm sure the Warp is like, yes, billions, trillions of death. Yes, come here.
Now, naturally, with the memes aside, there are some people who are a little bit rough on this one. But most Inquisitors generally don't like to do Exterminatus a ton, but it is an option they have. And it's a crazy option when you think about it. Secret Police Inquisition are unfortunately not represented on the tabletop very much. You generally kind of put one in your army if you feel like it. You have a couple special options there and some side content, but they're not really fleshed out very well, and personally they need a lot more stuff put in there, and they really need a lot more effort put into them. And they're not
Makes more
quite
sense.
where I want them
characters
to be.
are way
Overall,
more
the Inquisition
nuanced.
makes for a lot of the best storytelling as well, because it's a little bit hard to talk about a big story of a whole bunch of space marines killing something, right? It's just a big battle story. It's not as interesting. Having that intrigue and that moral dilemma that an Inquisitor has makes for a lot better media. And honestly, the more people do it, I think it's better, because then it adds a little more humanity to the Warhammer horrible, horrible grim darkness. And wow, we just finished the humans, all right? Come back for part 2 when we talk about Chaos and Xenos, because we got to talk about the 4 Chaos Gods and all the Chaos Marine Legions and the Tau and the Necrons and the Orcs, and oh boy, we got a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be really dope. Again, I appreciate Bricky for doing such a brilliant job at just delivering high-quality knowledge while also keeping it fun at the same time with his personality. But also, yeah, this was just really, really great when it comes to putting together just more of the lore in the world, or more so universe of Warhammer 40K, man. All the things that we previously loved about it has just heightened even more, because now we have details. I again think what are they called? Sisters of Chaos? I don't even know. But like the faction with the girls, man, like holy crap, the Dark Angels? What the hell were they on, man? Like my goodness. They were probably my favorite ones so far, but all of them just have such a vast amount of usage and detail, and even mini factions underneath them. It's just really, really cool. So again, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. I can't wait to get to part 2, so be on the lookout for that. And as well, check out the other videos. You know, they don't bite. They don't bite. It's not Warhammer 40K, but I promise y'all, it doesn't bite. It's still a good time. So I appreciate you guys. I hope that you guys are good. Be healthy, and don't be a heretic. Peace.
Space.